Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to House of Footy. It's your boy Ray, and with me, I've got a full house. Welcome, Mac
Good evening.
and Gio.
What is good, guys?
The Premier League season is finally back, and on today's podcast, we'll be covering all the action from the Premier League games from the weekend, aside from the Man U versus Wolves match, which is taking place on Monday. Before we get into it, don't forget to follow us on our social medias, both on Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to us. We are on both Spotify and YouTube. And of course, don't forget to get involved via email as well. We love hearing from you guys, and we want you guys getting involved. Houseoffooty@hotmail.com is our email. But let's get straight into the action, boys. Game from day of recording, Sunday. Chelsea 1, Liverpool 1. That was to say the least, an entertaining game with lots of goals hitting the back of the net, but eventually it was only two official goals that were given. So I'm going to toss it to you, Mac. Anything stand out for you for this game?
There's a lot of things that stood out to me in terms of how we can look back at this game and see the trajectory of the teams. Firstly being, if you would ask me who is happier with this type of result, I definitely think Chelsea should be. They are definitely a team. I think the easiest way to be able to put them is they're in a down bad situation right now with the amount of injuries they have, not be able to get their signings across the finish line. They still need a lot of work to do and still to come out, put up performance. And I would argue, in all likelihood, should have won the game. Probably were the better of the two teams and still managed to come over with at least a point against a Liverpool team that was all action and had potential to be able to set the world on fire with their attacking threat. So to be able to play well enough, and with even in the middle of the game, their captain, their best player throughout the full entire game, in my opinion, Reece James, having to come off as well and still pose a threat even when he leaves the field. So overall, I think that Chelsea played very, very well. And like I said, Reece James, again, I think he's taken it to another level this season. He's definitely going to be in the conversation as probably the best wingback in the world, or in that in that conversation, or if not already knocking on the door, if not already there. So I think overall, Chelsea were phenomenal today, and unfortunate to come out with the draw.
Yeah, Reece James, of course, the new Chelsea captain. But one player that, of course, stood out to me, and I just want to mention it because of his performance that I was watching, Enzo Fernandez. Great performance from him all around. Looks like he hasn't missed a step since, I guess, the end of last season, but he stood out to me definitely in sort of the silkiness that he possesses when he is on the ball, and also his work rate to get back and of course shield that at times vulnerable defense from last season that Chelsea had. But you know what? This is a decent result. What stood out to you, Gio, from this game?
To be quite honest, Liverpool technically was better. The touch was better, everything. Like the movement of the ball when they did have the ball was better. But I thought I saw a hungrier Chelsea from last season. Their efforts off the ball, their efforts on the ball, their efforts to win the ball back. I think they've kind of turned. I know it's one game, but it's a game against Liverpool. At the end of the day, it's a top six club. It's that classic top six that we always talk about and refer to, but they just look hungrier. Even on their goal, they're crashing the net. Just last season they weren't doing that. They were standing, watching shots go over the net at the keeper. They weren't making those types of runs and crashing the net to even get chances like that on the rebound. Yes, goals like that are considered sweaty, but goals still count the same on the scoreboard. So the effort is there. Hopefully Poch has kind of turned a page on the old Chelsea and is making use of what he has and what's to come. Maybe Caicedo. This was almost a Caicedo derby. But once he does get Caicedo, I think the pairing with Enzo elevates the team that much more. But everything so far that I've seen today, this is a different Chelsea squad.
Very exciting for Chelsea fans, of course. We know a Chelsea fan closely, and I think he was impressed with sort of the aggressiveness that they did show on the first game. So overall, that was, I think, a good performance on the opening day from the new manager, of course, and it looks like a new sort of kind of new system. It's a 3-4 sort of 3 that they deployed. But of course, incoming Caicedo looks to be a huge difference for Chelsea. Mac, do you think that is what Chelsea need to solve sort of and complete their squad at this point? What are your thoughts about that?
No, I think that he's an interesting piece of the puzzle. I think that him and Enzo Fernandez have the potential, if all things go well, and it has every potential to be able to do so. They could be Chelsea's kind of midfield duo for the next 5, 6, maybe even 10 years, considering their age profile, how well they play, and how well they can theoretically mesh together. But in regards to a midfield duo, you're paying over 220 million combined for the both of them. It's absolutely obscene in terms of that amount. So the player, great. Price tag scares the living hell out of me. It's not my money. No stress. Todd Bowley can do whatever he wants with it. But at the end of the day, I feel like, especially with the contract going supposedly up until 2031, if I remember correctly, that if it doesn't go well, you're on the hook, because it's going to be hard to be able to get him off your books if, for whatever reason, like I said, it does not go well. So I think the duo there on paper looks great, could work very, very well. But Brighton have suckered Chelsea before for multiple players and a manager, and they end up purchasing them. I hope it doesn't go this way for a Chelsea fan's sake, but I think it does have the potential.
Yeah, potential is there, but I just think to pay this much off maybe 1.25 good Premier League seasons is a lot to ask for. A lot to ask for. And people were going crazy over paying that much for Paul Pogba, who actually proved himself in Serie A. But hey, Caicedo, I get it, he's a hot commodity, but to shell out that much money to be a Premier League record breaker, I think is a little much for me. It's a little much for me. So God willing, it works out. Actually, I don't really care if it works out or not, because you're gonna break the record. It's gonna take the eyes off Man U. So hey, Godspeed.
For sure. Yeah, Mac, that's a crazy amount, and it makes sense. Just basically within a year, Enzo and Caicedo will cost over 200 million pounds combined for those two midfielders. So they're breaking the bank and betting everything on them. So hopefully that does come through for them. Lastly, though, for Liverpool, Gio, I did want to ask you, because you did mention, of course, the goal that Liverpool did concede. And of course, Mac can jump into this as well. The defense is still shaky. Defensive error from that ball that popped back out. Chilwell just heads it back in, and then defense is ball watching. Is that also going to be something that is solved with a new incoming midfielder? Of course, the holding mid position is very much highlighted here, or maybe even a new center back partnership there. What do you think, Joe?
It's much like last season as well. They tend to freeze and they kind of just let the play run, and they don't know what to do, or who has who rather. The pickup, the marking, I don't think is great. And it showed on that goal. I think they need a new pairing. I think, yes, the midfield will help. It'll alleviate the pressure, but when you have a player like Virgil van Dijk in his prime and entering into the latter stage of his prime, you need to pair him with someone that can get the best out of him as well. So now's really your chance to solidify a combo. So along with the midfielder, maybe you want to look at adding, another center back that can, play well with him, alongside him, because, how many more years of prime Virgil van Dijk, pure athleticism, true leadership, how many more years are you gonna get out of him? So they need to take advantage, and need to take advantage now. If not this window, who's to say next window might not be too late to try and salvage the things you want to salvage, like fighting for your lives in certain competitions.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, at the end of the day, a point is shared, and I guess both teams should be happy. What do you think, Mac?
I think both teams should be happy, but I think this just kind of clarifies the issues of what's going on with Liverpool. Because if you look at that midfield three that they put out onto the pitch today, being Sunday, of Gakpo, McAllister, and Szoboszlai, I would argue all of them in their best ideal position is probably as a number 10. And you're playing all three of them together. it doesn't make much sense. And you can see that the frailty there where you can expose them in certain situations. And in regards to that individual goal, that it was kind of a header being popped out and no one there to be able to win the second ball. So if you had a potential, let's say like a Fabinho type of player there, you may be able to get that position closed down versus more as kind of number 10s, where McAllister last year, that's where he played most of his time when he was playing over at Brighton. Gakpo has played on the wing and as a second striker. And Szoboszlai, I think that he played 70% of his time as a right-sided winger before coming to Liverpool in his previous season. So again, he's playing heavily out of position. I think that there is a glaring hole, and I think Klopp even said after the game is that everybody knows what the issue is and look what we're trying to do. So being in that position, they're now just going to have to pay an obscene amount for a player, in all likelihood, is not as good as what they really need to be able to do. So again, if I'm a team like Southampton, I'm licking my chops and asking for more money than what's required, really. What should be required to put players over the line, because you're in a position where Liverpool are desperate. They have nobody that can fill that position. So I think that this game, even though it is a tie away at Stamford Bridge, if you go to most years and look at that from a Liverpool perspective, that's not a bad result. But I think in this individual situation is that because how weak Chelsea theoretically are right now, given the injuries, the rollover, as well as you knew what your problem was these last couple of weeks since you've let Henderson and Fabinho go. You knew what the problem was, and you haven't addressed it. So that, I think, goes to show, even though it is in some ways you can look at as positive, I think this is a worse result for Liverpool. And looking back, this is definitely, in my opinion, a position where if they had it taken care of the business earlier, it's 2 points dropped versus only 1 point gained.
I do agree, and definitely still a long season to go, but we'll see how both teams sort of fare in the next couple of games. Moving on to another couple of, I guess, London teams. Brentford did tie Spurs 2-2 in their game as well, that took place today. I guess for the game, it's interesting how both teams lined up, but I think one thing that we kind of have to focus now, that since we sort of had our last podcast, Harry Kane, Gio, made his move to Bayern Munich since we last recorded. And, you know, he did go on to lose that first match with Bayern Munich, but his ex-team did get the tie. What are your thoughts about that Harry Kane move overall?
First of all, love it because Spurs got worse, but hate it because I picked him as my highest goal scorer. I think I need a new pick, but we'll leave that up to, you know, the listeners. Do I deserve a new pick? I think so.
You think he's going to be the leading goal scorer in the Bundesliga? I think that's probably a shoo-in, no?
He technically didn't play a game. So is he really a Premier League player? I just picked a non-Premier League player. So I don't know. I think I get a new pick. But what do I think of Spurs their first game against Brentford? I think Maddison, I'm surprised more teams weren't lining up to sign Maddison. And it's kind of sad that he had to go to a team like Spurs after losing their best player, which, you know, definitely drops them in that competition level amongst other teams. They're going to be fighting because they're going to, like, I know, you know, they scored 2 here, but, you know, how many more goals are they going to lose because of them losing Kane? Kane was, he had like 30 last year. So where are you going to find those 30 goals? Like, I'm not. To me, the math isn't mathing. You know, for I think Ederson Royale scored. You know, how often is he going to really score for you? You know, but back to James Maddison, I think he is he played fantastic today. I think the offense had to run through him. I think he was great on the ball, and it shows his quality. Again, I was high on him on Team England. Sucks that he didn't get any minutes, but, you know, that's the past. But no, I think Spurs can do very well with him. They just need somebody other than Richarlison up top. Or maybe Richarlison might snap. Who knows?
Who knows?
I can confirm that. He will. For me, I think this Tottenham team right now, you would think that because it wasn't too long ago that they were in a similar position when they sold Gareth Bale, where you sold your player, you sold kind of your star player, kind of the face of your club to outside the league, and you got a lot of money invested. And I would argue they probably missed on a lot of those signings that they got back then, but they took enough shots in the dark where they ended up getting a couple of right. So I'll be interested to see, because money is very different in the transfer market now, where before, when they sold Gareth Bale, I think for like 87, they could buy 5 players and still get decent quality returns out of them. Versus now, it's a very different position. I think, and I assume, my assumption will be is they don't invest it right away, and they look to be able to build slowly and see if they can be able to pick up things around the edges. But I feel like a key signing or two could bring a lot of impact to this league, because given how Postecoglou, the manager, wants to be able to play and the way he wants to be able to utilize wingers, I think their new captain is going to be in a tough shake of things. And my bias of hating Richarlison fits into this perfectly, is that I would love to see Son play as a number 9 instead. And for them to spend a lot of money to bring in a star winger to help support, could it be Matoma? That would be fun. Brighton could even get more money. Why not? Or the fun link that got me really excited. But obviously, I don't want to see it because it doesn't seem right for Spurs to have fun things. But a player like Krashkavelia, where if you're able to double or triple down on this team and bring a winger option, that where Son, he's much more of a winger that wants to come inside, wants to be able to drive through the middle, versus how Tottenham have been trying to play is have their wingers pinched out wide to apply pressure to create space for other players. By bringing in a player like Matoma or Krashkavelia, a player of that ilk, it allows Son to be able to shift into the middle, be more of a threat on the counter, be more of a threat to be able to run in behind, and still have quality of finish, unlike Richarlison. So for me, I would want to see them invest to be able to bring in a different player like that. If not there, they need midfielders. Because if your starting defensive midfielder duo is Basuma and Skip, you're having a rough time of it. It's not going to be a good game for you. I don't know. It does not seem like a good idea. And the last part before Ray, you can jump in here as well, is that I would really want, and would make this game, this first week, perfect for me, is where I would want to see a report that Ivan Toney's bet on who Tottenham's going to sign. That would just make it perfect circle for me.
I mean, we have to go to him. He probably has all the inside scoop on who Spurs are looking to sign next. And if I may throw my own sort of pick in the bunch, I have been calling for this type of player to make a big move, a big step up. Don't think it'll happen this late in the window, but a man like Ollie Watkins, perfect, I think, for a move to a Spurs, Premier League ready, did very well last season, and I think can really just fit into the Spurs team. But, we'll have to see what they do. At the end of the day, though, regardless of what, I know a lot of people are going to make fun of Spurs and Harry Kane, and Mac, we kind of spoke of this off our podcast this morning. PR-wise, it's not going to be great for Spurs short term, but in the long term, you're getting 100 mil for a player that was about to leave for free next year. Hey, Mbappe, take some notes. That's something that really Spurs, you kind of hit the jackpot there. I know you're in a transitional period, 2-2 in your first game, not the best result, but I think in the long term, that's going to be very, very helpful for Spurs, and if they can sort of get that money for Postecoglou to invest, I think that's pretty much your hope there. Gio?
I kind of want to make a shout. Depending on how they're doing by the January window, hey, why not sign the betting man himself, Ivan Toney? Hey, listen. He might want to change his scenery. Brentford didn't end off too well, obviously getting suspended, but hey, he's proven talent in the Prem, and he could be that spark that they need, to push them. But yeah, why not Ivan Toney?
I don't hate that shout. Definitely a striker hole that they're gonna need to fix, and we'll definitely see what they do with that money. But let's take a quick break here, boys. We'll be back with some more Premier League roundup after the break. So stay with us, please.